turns out that when you remove the effect of excess body fat, our hardwiring for metabolism between the ages of 20 and 60 is rock solid, flat as an ocean on a calm day. And this is the mic drop discovery, is that 60 can be the new 20 when it comes to your metabolism if you follow. So what are some of the great ways to actually burn down body fat? Going for a walk, for 30 minutes, anybody can do. Going for a run, if you can do it, if your knees are good, I would consider doing that. Great way to actually burn down extra body fat.
Are there hidden things that you may not be aware of that are actually slowing your metabolism down?
So I think that there are some actual food items that people consume that they don't realize that will do that. That's one of them.
Really?
How your body gets energy and burns down energy, just like if you were a car. Okay? So think about it. I mean, most of us have driven a car that uses gas. And, when you're driving a car, which relies on fuel to actually drive forward, you were just sitting in the driver's seat, going about your way, thinking about how to get to point A to point B. You're not thinking about the fuel. And that's basically how we operate with our metabolism. We just keep going, doing our thing. We got the checklist. We got to go shopping. We got to go pick up the kids from school or whatever. Okay. We don't think about our metabolism, but like a car, which requires fuel, when the fuel gauge goes towards empty, suddenly, if you're sitting in your car, all of a sudden you're like, where do I find that filling station?
Right.
I got to get some gas.
Yes.
Okay. Same deal in your body. When your energy runs low, suddenly you got to get fuel. And it turns out the fuel that we use for a car, which is gasoline, petrol, depending on where you live. If you actually look at what happens in the body, the fuel for our body is our food.
Yeah.
We call gasoline in gallons or liters, depending on where you live. Food, the measures in calories. Most of people will tell you, put the best quality fuel you can into the tank.
Yep.
But all of us, I'm running a little low on cash this month. And so what do? You go out and I'm going to put some of that cheap stuff in there.
Right.
You know what? You fill up your car with a tank full of cheap gas once in a while. You're not going to know the difference. But if you do that every single time you go fill up your tank, all right, day in and day out, week after week, month after month, I guarantee you, your car's not going to run as well or as long as somebody who really takes care of their car by putting higher quality fuel into their car. And by the way, beyond the quality of the fuel, that person who's making that choice is probably also taking better care of their car in general. And that's exactly what happens to our body. When we're actually needing fuel, we go for food, we reach for choice A, choice G, choice C, just like at the fuel tank. And what we know is that if you actually choose higher quality fuel for your body, it's actually going to be a lot better for you in the long run. They discovered that human metabolism across a lifetime follows only 4 phases.
Okay.
What are they? We're all born in the phase 1. We're all born the same way. Phase 1 is from day 0 to 1 year old. Human metabolism goes skyrockets, higher, 50% higher than the adult level of metabolism. So 1 year old is firing up their jets big time. But I'll tell you what it tells us. It tells us whatever we're exposing them to in that first year of life, we better think about that. The microplastics, the whoobies, the pacifiers, the binkies. What are we putting into this metabolic jet engine?
Yep.
All right. So phase 1 is 0 to 1 years old. Phase 2 is from 1 year old to 20 years old. This is that time where the teenagers are bouncing off the wall, eating 2 or 3 dinners, right? And you would think that their metabolism is going up, but this research shows that between the ages of 1 year old and 20 years old, metabolism is going down to adult levels. Okay. So the teenager is getting bigger, but the metabolism is slowing down.
Okay.
Now, and this is the mic drop discovery. All right. So for anybody who's watching this, you're going to want to rewind and listen to this again. This research discovered between the third phase is between the age of 20 and 60. Right the time when you think that, your waistline is going to expand and you're going to gain all this weight. It turns out that when you remove the effect of excess body fat, our hardwiring for metabolism between the age of 20 and 60 is rock solid, flat as an ocean on a calm day. Does not change. And what that means is that the way that we're hardwired is that 60 can be the new 20 when it comes to your metabolism if you follow what your body wants to do.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to come back to this because obviously people's weight changes and their size changes, but there's a reason for that. And the fourth phase, the final phase, is from 60 to 90 years old. Guess what happens to metabolism? It does start to slow down a bit. I mean, come on, you deserve it, 60 to 90, but only by 17%. By the time you're 90 years old, your metabolism's only 17% slower than when it was at 60. And 60 should be rock solid at 20. So our metabolism is hardwired in our body, just like in a laptop. You know, the operating system is hardwired out of the box. It's going to be firing up. And our metabolism is designed to store energy, and it stores it into our body fat, and it burns energy just to allow us to do ordinary things. You don't have to run a marathon to burn energy. I mean, that'll burn a lot of energy, but doing the laundry, washing the dishes, walking up a bunch of steps, making the bed, that also burns energy. Okay. Talking on the phone burns energy. Moving your fingers to scroll down your social feed burns energy. Movement of any sort will actually burn some energy. So I'm trying to make sure people understand that any kind of movement is a good start. By the way, studies have actually shown that even fidgeting, you know, shaking the leg, tap, tap, tap. All right. Those actually rev up your metabolism as well by burning down some energy, but nothing substitutes from a burn perspective from actually really getting into motion. Because when you're burning down, when you need fuel to burn, it's like driving really fast on the highway. You're going to burn down the fuel in your tank a little bit more. And that fuel is really the fat, the energy stored in body fat. So what are some of the great ways to actually burn down body fat? Going for a walk, you know, for 30 minutes, anybody can do. Going for a run, if you can do it, if your knees are good, I would consider doing that. Swimming, great way to actually burn down extra body fat. It doesn't put too much stress on your bones or your muscles. Dancing is a great way. So the amount you intake food, the quality of the fuel that you're actually putting into your body, the amount of fuel you're putting in your body is one side of the equation, and you can control that. So that's super good news because, just cut down a little bit and then burning down the fuel that's been accumulated. Now, some people say, well, look, I have a really big body and I haven't been able to lose this fat. It's not going to happen overnight because guess what? You have been accumulating those extra tanks on your pickup truck for a long time. Those extra cans of gasoline that you've been piling up for a long time. It's going to take some time to burn it down. You got to be patient. So whenever you see these things like lose, X number of pounds in 2 weeks or 10 days, if you can do that, all right, it won't be sustainable. You're looking for sustainable, healthy fat burn. So I think that there are some actual food items that people consume that they don't realize that will do that. Alcohol is one of them.
Really?
Yeah, because alcohol is, first of all, it's carbs. But when you have a lot of alcohol, it changes the chemistry in your body, affects your hormones, and makes you less eager to actually exercise the next day. You don't get as good enough quality sleep. We haven't talked about sleep and metabolism, but you don't actually get to that real fat burning part of sleep if you're not getting good quality sleep. So you want deep sleep in order to be able to really burn as much fat as possible. And not only are the alcohols or the empty calories that will have you grow more body fat, but now it's actually affected your behavior as well. And one of the things that we haven't really touched on, but I think it's important, is that, remember I told you that the research shows that between the third phase of metabolism, between ages of 20 and 60, is rock solid. It's a flat line. And that's how we're hardwired. But obviously, people in their 40s and 50s and even 60s, and they see, they're gaining weight, their body shape changes. And, so what's actually happening there? Well, life is happening there. Okay. By the time you're 40 and 50, you've got so much going on in your life that, you're less likely to have the same time that you had when you were 20 or 30 to be able to exercise regularly. We didn't talk about stress yet, but when you're super stressed out, you're in a constant fight or flight mode, and you're not burning fat as efficiently as you could.
If you could recommend 3 foods, Dr. Lee, that somebody add that would improve their metabolism and help them lose weight, what would those 3 things be?
Beans. Okay. Cook them in a healthy way with extra virgin olive oil because they actually feed your gut microbiome, which lets your bacteria have 39 trillion trainers in your gut actually help you lose weight. All right. Burn down body fat. Number 2, tomatoes. So many ways that you can make tomatoes absolutely delicious. Raw, sliced, cooked, sauteed, seared, grilled. So many ways you can have tomatoes. Tomatoes actually contain lycopene that burn down harmful body fat. And then, here's one that, I think people might be surprised by, but onions. It turns out that onions have something called quercetin, and quercetin is a natural bioactive that fires up your brown fat to burn down extra harmful body fat. Now, you might say, onion's a little too strong for me. Caramelize them. Let the natural sweetness within an onion soften it up and it just takes off all that extra oniony stuff. I mean, look away so you don't have to breathe it in or turn on the fan. And then you actually have this nice, soft onion stuff that you can put on anything. Put it on a salad, put it on a sandwich. It's actually absolutely delicious. Put it in sprinkle it in pasta. Those are 3 simple foods. Quercetin, also found in capers. Now, You made me think about something I personally love that most people might not be familiar with. Capers are a small little flower bud that is picked by hand from the Mediterranean, but you can find it in the middle aisle of a grocery store. It's in a tiny little jar, usually packed in a little bit of vinegar. Like pickled kind of thing. And you just pull them out or packed in salt. You pull them out, rinse them off, and you can chop them up and sprinkle them to anything. A salad, chicken, fish, whatever it is, pasta. You'll really light up the thing. And the reason I'm saying that is because capers are bombs packed with quercetin. Quercetin burns down harmful body fat. It activates your good fat, your brown fat, to burn down your bad fat, which is white fat. And it's a super activator of your taste buds. Calories are just a unit of measure, like for fuel.
Okay.
If our food is our fuel and we call the fuel calories, you don't want too much fuel, so you don't want too many calories. But here's the thing: when people really try to create a number to say you got to count to hit this, and I understand this, by the way. This is the basis of biohacking, right? People go, I want to know everything there is to know. I'm a quantitative person. I want to know all my numbers. And that's fine. Okay. But I can tell you the reason I try to discourage people from counting calories or tracking their blood sugar on an hourly basis or,
macros or whatever the heck. Yep.
But the problem is that actually that's quite stressful. And when you're stressed, it actually counters what you're exactly trying to do, which is lose weight and burn harmful body fat. It's very stressful for me if I had to sit there to calculate my calories, calculate my protein.
So what do you do instead?
Well, I think that this is again where working with a nutritionist is really, really helpful because it's personalized. Somebody sitting with you, even as a one-off consult, they're going to ask you, what is your life like? Tell me what you do in an average day. What do you want to do that you're not able to do? And what are your overall goals? And then based on that and based on your height and your weight and your gender and any other diseases you might have, that's actually a better way to come up with, the number of calories that you should have every day. And again, by the way, if you're more active one day, you're going to need more calories. And so that's why I think the range of calories is probably working with a nutritionist is going to be a healthier way that decreases your stress. You want a consultant to come in that tailors it to you. And which is why I'm reluctant now to give you kind of like, okay, Dr. Lee, what's the range that we should be aiming for?
You know what I was thinking. Like, what about a low? What about a high? You're like, don't do it.
Don't go there because it's too stressful. And whatever I say might not fit the person, who's listening to this, it might not actually fit your situation. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't achieve that. Now you're feeling stressed again. So, there's something to be said about not worrying so much about numbers. Stop counting. Be aware that the amounts matter. And by the way, if you consume too many calories one day, consume less the next day. So it's very hard to hit that number every single time. And that's what I want to let people know, is that focusing on the numbers is a big source of modern stress when it comes to nutrition and dieting and weight loss. It's much better to flip the script, to recognize the ingredients that actually fight body fat, that can tap into and activate your body's hardwiring to burn down extra body fat. And in order to be able to live a more, I would say, a smoother, more integrated life, so you're not focused on those numbers.
As a medical doctor and a researcher and an expert on metabolism, what is fat?
All right. So fat is a substance that we all recognize and maybe recoil from hearing, like, I don't too much fat. You want to cut it off on your plate and put it onto the side. But I can tell you, fat is one of the most important tissues in your body. And in fact, it forms, within weeks after your dad's sperm met your mom's egg and you were just a ball of cells. Your fat formed before you had a face, before you had a waist, before you had thighs. You had body fat forming. And here's how it's really interesting about how fat forms. First organ that forms are your blood vessels, because everything needs a blood supply. So again, you're just a ball of cells, a few days old, starting to be a few weeks. The first organ that forms is your circulation. Second, because you need blood flow. Second organ that forms are your nerves, because every organ needs an electrical system. Think about building a house. You got to start with the basics, right?
Yeah.
You need a circulation. You need an electrical system, a nervous system. Third tissue that forms, body fat. And body fat forms around the blood vessels. Okay. No face. There's no arms. There's no thigh. Okay. There's no waistline. It forms around the blood vessels like bubble wrap does. And the question you ask is exactly the interesting question. Why does fat grow around blood vessels very early in life? Because fat winds up becoming the fuel tank, and you want the fuel tank to be near where the fuel is. When you eat food, you're eating fuel. The fuel goes into your blood vessels. And how do you store the fuel from your blood vessels into the fuel tank? It's right there, right next to the blood vessels. That's why the fat started forming very early on in that configuration.
Are fat cells like all the other cells, or how are they different?
They can stretch and expand. They fill up with the energy from food. All right. They can expand 300%. Regular fat cell, you can't see with the naked eye. Under a microscope, you can see it. But I'm telling you, and this is why when fat expands, when you're loading it with fuel, which is the food that we eat, which is the energy that we actually need. I mean, think about it. Our body's designed to find fuel, put the fuel into our body by eating it, stores it in our fuel tank, which is our fat. And then when you're ready to burn the fat, it takes the fuel from the fuel tank, just like your car, and runs it through the engine so you can actually burn it down. It's very simple. That's what metabolism is. Weight gain does not start with your muffin top. All right.
What?
Or your thighs. Weight gain starts in a very subtle way, and this has been studied with clinical research. It's the visceral fat, the fat that's inside our body. You can't see it, that starts to grow early. So when you have too many calories and you overflow your fuel tank, the first fat that grows is inside your body. You can't see it. Can you guess where you start getting fat accumulating first?
I go from a Twinkie to a pear.
Okay.
So the rear end.
It's not there. The first place anybody starts to gain body fat is in the tongue.
The tongue?
The tongue. Now, this is amazing because it's been studied in skinny people, actually. Even skinny people start to gain weight, and the first place they gain it is in their tongue. So check this out. The human tongue is made of 3 parts. You got the tip of the tongue, which is like a Cirque du Soleil acrobat. You got the middle of the tongue, which is really strong, packed with muscle.
Yep.
And the back of the tongue is a big fat pillow of fat.
Yeah.
A third of it is all fat. Okay. Like marbly fat in the back of your tongue to allow food that you've chewed up to slide all the way back down into your stomach. Okay. And so the back of your tongue is mostly visceral fat. And when you gain weight and start to grow extra body fat, one of the first places that it grows is in the back of your tongue. Okay. The last third of your tongue. Now, how do you know this?
I was just about to ask you.
How do you know it? Is if your bed partner you're sleeping with starts to say, hey, you're starting to snore. Okay. You didn't snore before. You're starting to snore. So this is, by the way, studied in skinny people. What happens is that when you actually start to gain weight and body fat grows in the back of your tongue, you got a fat tongue. All right. Your tongue's getting fatter. Now, what happens when you're sleeping? You're relaxing, including your fat tongue starts to relax. And now your fat tongue is occluding your airways, is blocking your airway. So you wake up and you snort. You start to snore and you wake up and this is what your bed partner notices. So this has been studied in Scandinavia with thin people who are gaining weight and trying to figure out where is it beginning. And the telltale sign is snoring or being startled when you're sleeping because the tongue is the first place to get fat.
Wow. And it's also then a sign that your metabolism is slowing down.
It's a warning bell that things might actually be slowing down for you. Hey, if you like that video, then you're going to love this one. Check it out.